When you were younger, what did you want to be when you grew up?
When I was younger, I wanted to be a paleontologist. I learned about them in first grade, and I always thought it'd be a really cool job to work in a desert and be able to dust off dinosaur bones. I also thought that the fact that I could say paleontologist and I knew what it was in first grade, I thought it was really cool. The other job that I wanted to do was be a veterinarian. I always loved animals, but as I got older, I realized that I don't like needles, I don't like blood, I'd probably pass out, and I don't want to see animals suffer.
Where did you go to school and what did you major in?
I went to school at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. I actually started off as a marketing major, so I knew I wanted to get into business. So I started off in marketing, realized that really wasn't ideally what I wanted to do. And then weirdly enough, I wanted to get into psychology, so I changed my major. I had always liked psychology. Ideally, I really wanted to work in the prison system and work with the prisoners. And then I slowly realized that I'd be too scared to work with them. It was not the right position for me. And then somebody actually in school said, if you like psychology and you like business, HR is the perfect fit for you. So I changed my major to HR and I graduated with a bachelor's in HR management.
How did you first start in the employment industry?
So I started in the employment industry while I was still in college getting my bachelor's in HR management. I knew I wanted to get more into a professional position. So I went out on job boards and actually applied to two different ones right in the beginning. One was a kind of startup marketing firm, and then the other one was actually Cielo or Pinstripe at the time. So I applied to both, I interviewed with both, and then I was offered the position with both. So at Cielo was an interviewing specialist, and then the other one was at the marketing firm, I think more of like a sales position. So I interviewed for both, and I remember talking to my dad, which one should I choose? Should I do the marketing or should I do the interviewing specialist? And I decided to go with Cielo and start as an interviewing specialist. So that is how I started my career off in employment.
How did you get your first big opportunity? What did you do?
I would say my first big opportunity was when I took the position with Cielo as an interviewing specialist. So I started off as LTE. I started off on the city team, interviewed and kind of got to know the RPO industry that way. The Impression Center was just created, so I was really interested in joining that team. So I applied and I got that position. So I started off as an Impression Center agent. I worked there full-time while I was going to school full-time. And then from there, they had started to create the department Bridge or PERT. So when I heard about PERT, they had asked me kind of just help out on a couple things, and then they said, hey, maybe you can split your time half and half between Impression Center and Bridge, and then they asked me to move to an agent full-time on Bridge, and from there I really worked my way up from an agent on Bridge. I got promoted to a senior agent on Bridge, and then I was asked to take the team lead role on Bridge. So that's really been my biggest opportunity, is leading the Bridge team and helping that department grow to where it is now.
What was one of the most memorable lessons you've learned starting out in your career?
One of the most memorable lessons that I learned starting out in my career, so I still consider myself newer in my career, but I remember when I first entered into a leadership position, I was really gung-ho. I had to put together a PowerPoint for one of our clients regarding a law or ordinance change that had happened in their state. I put it together. I thought I had dotted my I's, crossed my T's. I was super excited about it. I failed to have anybody look at it or review it or help me look into the law. I'm not a lawyer. And I presented it to the client, and the client was actually the one who actually found an error in how I had interpreted the law. And it really brought me back down to basics. I needed to humble myself. I needed to use my resources around me before I presented something so big. And it really taught me, kind of going back to the triangle when Neil, as our leader, taught us about accuracy is number one. So if you don't have accuracy, nobody's going to trust you, and you won't kind of have credibility. Be available to your team, I would say, is another good lesson that I learned, and be available to your clients and whoever needs to get a hold of you. If you are not available to them, they're going to go to somebody else, and they're not going to look to you as a leader. And then partnership, really you have to be available and be accurate in your work in order to start to build that partnership with the people around you. And then if you even want to get higher than that, the top of the triangle is advice. If you want to proactively give your clients or your team advice, you have to make sure that you're hitting all those 3 levels below, and that you're only really good as your last transaction. So if you fail to do something wrong, you're right back at the bottom and you have to work your way up. So it's been really humbling.
What does it mean to own your career?
To me, what does it mean to own a career would be really to take initiative. If you want to go somewhere and you want to grow in your career, do what it takes to get there. Start at the bottom, work your way up. If your job responsibilities entail X, Y, Z, make sure you go above and beyond. Ask for more. If you have questions, look for the answer. The other thing I would say is to find a mentor within that industry that you're looking to grow in. I go to my mentor all the time. I ask that person to look over my emails, look over my documents, help me when I need to practice presenting something. I really want that person to give me constructive criticism, and everything that person's ever told me has only helped me grow and become a better person and kind of own my career in a better way.